Like, my love for makeup had kind of entered the realm of a little bit toxic, and I just wasn't feeling my best. Hey there, my handsome and pretty little Cobras, and welcome back to the Cobra's Nest. For those of you who are new, my name is Mignon Cobra, and I make minimalism videos. Today's video is going to be makeup rehab 20 tips that I have learned from you guys that have helped me along in my journey, and I think could help you guys a lot too. So, without further ado, let's just get into the list. Let's get it, let's go. Woo. I wanted to make this video because I have been creeping the subreddit on Reddit, the R makeup rehab, and I have to say that that has got to be one of the best communities I've ever joined. Everybody there is so like loving and supportive and encouraging, and you guys offer amazing tips. And I decided to be a thief and I wrote down everything that I've been collecting. They really helped me with my makeup rehabilitation. I am a makeup lover, and I did not foresee any possible way that I could like let go of makeup, or my my addiction. Like, my love for makeup had kind of entered the realm of a little bit toxic, and I just like there's a lot of underlining things that I needed to address, and I think that these tips might help you guys as well if you are thinking about makeup rehabilitation and just having a healthier relationship with your makeup. All right, so number one, write it down in lists. I saw that a lot of people recommended having an Excel sheet or just having a pen and paper and just writing down all the products that you have. I saw people did it in different ways. Some people were like, they recorded how much it cost them, how much they had in each category, how long it was taking them to use up, the number of times they hit pan on a certain product. And I saw that a lot of people said that this really helped them a lot with understanding just what's in their collection, how often it takes them to finish something, and what they can and cannot replenish, and just kind of getting more organized about what's in their makeup collection. And it kind of helped me see that, maybe I don't need more eyeshadows, or I don't need 2 mascaras. Number two, understand what it's costing you. A lot of people have been examining things like the time spent, the mental energy, the effort, just like all of these things, and asking themselves, are they willing to pay that price? It has kind of helped me assess what's my relationship with higher end products, FOMO, Instagram, YouTube, and comparing against other people's makeup. And I think it's quite helpful and was really helpful for me to understand what it's costing you. Number three, it's not a collection. A lot of people refer to the makeup as a makeup collection. You can just Google it, makeup collection, to see people's vast amount of IKEA filled drawers. And in the rehab community, a lot of people mentioned that they stopped viewing their makeup as a collection or something to collect or items to collect, because they realize that it's just consumable products. You use it up and you move on. Once you open a product, you can't really like store it for like centuries or like generations and pass it on to others. It's a product that expires between 6 months, a year to 2 years. These are not things to collect. It's something to buy and something to use. This brings us into our fourth point, which is it expires. Once I started makeup rehab, I realized makeup has expiration dates, and eyeshadows don't work as well as they used to if you've been hoarding it for more than the 2-year mark. And mascara dries, eyeliners smell funky, and it was just kind of like heartbreaking to realize this stuff expires, so I really shouldn't be buying more than I can use. And when I did a project pan for the past 2 years, I think I started back in like 2017, 18, 19, 20, wow, almost 4 years of project panning, I realized that stuff takes a long time to finish, and I really just didn't want to be stuck in that cycle of not finishing up stuff before it expired. It's so wasteful. All right, number five, it's more than just makeup. A lot of people addressed a lot of the underlining things about makeup. I saw that some people use makeup to cope from all of the different stressors in their life. People were recovering from EDs, people were recovering from traumas. Makeup was something that's fun, something that's hobby, something to take their minds off. Makeup represented more than just makeup. It represented different things for different people, and that really opened up my eyes to help examine, well, what did it represent for me? And I started to examine, and for myself, I tried my best to separate my love of using makeup and my love of shopping, and try to kind of get to the core of it, like what's really going on. All right, number six, it should fit into a makeup bag. This one's a little bit personal because one of the comments was directed at me, telling me that the reason that I had some of the problems that I did about hoarding was because, well, it didn't fit in a makeup bag. And I was like, ouch, but it's true. And this was a really helpful tip. Before, I didn't keep my makeup in a makeup bag. I kept mine in a Muji drawer, which is a lot like that acrylic Muji drawer with the 3 layers. And that has more space than a bag. So right now my bag is a chunky makeup bag. But the most important thing that I learned from that is that it kind of does sort of help as a limiter, and I think it's a really good tip. They recommended making it fit in a makeup bag, and you shouldn't own more than what fits in a makeup bag. I've actually decluttered and stopped using my Muji acrylic drawer for housing my makeup and actually making sure that it fits in a bag. Currently, it doesn't really fit in a bag. It fits in about like in a bag and a half, but I will be working on that, and hopefully this year was a low buy. Maybe next year can be a no buy and see where it goes from there. All right, number 7, project pan. This one is really useful. I don't project pan much as I used to. When I had a larger collection back in 2017, I was totally into project panning. And then I think somewhere in like 2018, 2019, I got sick and tired of project panning. But I think that it's a really useful thing that I think the makeup community is bang on about. I don't think one should be decluttering so much. I think project panning kind of reveals to you many things about like your taste, your preferences. Because if you're just decluttering but you're not doing project pan, you don't really learn much about your taste, and you just kind of enter a cycle of like buy, declutter. The decluttering just kind of becomes an excuse. But when you're project panning, you have to face the monster of your large makeup collection, and you have to use up products, and you're gonna learn, you know what, you don't like brown shades, and or you know, dark purple shades maybe it really aren't for you, or those pastel pinks don't really show up on your tan skin. Through doing project panning, you will be not wasting makeup because you're using it up, and also learning about your spending habits and makeup using habits. All right, number 8, FOMO. I was a little bit arrogant and I didn't think I suffered from FOMO, but once I started reading more on like what the community had to say about FOMO, people experience FOMO in different ways. For example, I saw some people got FOMO during Christmas or the limited edition stuff. They got FOMO for products of certain brands they like or certain YouTubers that they like, and I didn't understand the FOMO because I haven't lived in the West for a while. But once I decided to examine my own FOMO, I started to realize, oh my god, yeah, I get FOMO too, in the sense that like when I leave Taiwan, I always get FOMO and I'm like, oh my god, I'm not gonna be able to buy my favorite brands. Like, I'm gonna go back to the West and I can't buy my Asian goodies. What am I gonna do? I get a lot of FOMO when I watch like Korean K-beauty, like skincare. So once I started to evaluate my own FOMO, I was like, yeah, I get FOMO too. And so a lot of the tips that they gave to kind of avoid FOMO was to like unsubscribe from your favorite YouTubers. That was so painful, just to unsubscribe from my favorite YouTubers. But I was like, you know what? I gotta do it. Also, follow them on Instagram. First, I didn't want to do it, but once I started to do it, I think just for a period of time to just kind of wean yourself off of it, you kind of start to realize that although you're missing out, you don't even realize you're missing out, and so then you're not experiencing FOMO, because FOMO is a pretty big driver to make you purchase things because you don't want to miss out. And I think that's like a perfectly natural human instinct, so the best thing is to avoid it in the first place. Another person recommended avoiding FOMO by not going to the stores. I used to think that I had enough willpower to go to the store and browse and look at what I wanted, but as long as I didn't buy it, that'd be enough. But that's not true. I still got FOMO, and in a month or two I went and bought that item. So it's kind of like recovering from alcoholism. You don't want to be going into the beer store and testing your willpower. Just don't do it to yourself. Avoid going to the stores till you can get over or have a better coping mechanism for FOMO. Number 9, it's just another palette. I mean, I use the palette in the sense that you can insert X product. Like for myself, I had this problem with foundations and with lippies. I felt like, ooh, I want to try that new shade of foundation. Why? I don't get where I was like going with this. And a lot of people talked about that. The packaging would get them, the hype around it would get them, and a lot of them started to realize that it's just another palette. They were able to distance themselves and disconcern themselves from that item, and I guess be a little bit more like rational about it. And that is something that's really helped me with like lippies. I don't need another lippy. It's just another shade of red. Number 10, is it a hobby or a consumerist habit? I made a post talking about like my relationship with makeup and money, and one person said that for them, they realized that they started to ask themselves, was this a hobby or was it more the consumer's habit that they were addressing? So that's something that really resonated with me. I started to realize that you can enjoy having makeup and using makeup, but sometimes you need to address like, where did the line get crossed where it started to become a consumerist habit? When did the mindless scrolling on Instagram, on YouTube, like what do you want to buy, watching the reviews, going on the like promos on the internet, online shopping, like where did it cross that line and it started to become more about buying something than perhaps just like using what you have? And like, unless you get it for free, your makeup had to pay for it, hence it's a consumerist habit. And it's definitely opened my eyes up because I didn't get makeup for free, I had to pay for it. Number 11, is it a coping mechanism? That one was a tough one for me, and I really didn't want to admit these kind of things to myself, but seeing that other people were like reflecting and having like deep thoughts about their makeup and how it could be a coping mechanism really helped take the shame off of it for myself and realize that yeah, there were some times when I did use it as a coping mechanism. And I think just understanding and being aware was already half the game. I think a lot of people realized during COVID that maybe they might have been using it as coping mechanisms for other things, whether it be like unfulfillment in a job, or unhappiness in a relationship, unhappiness with oneself, unhappiness about a certain aspect of life. There's really no shame in admitting these things. I think that once you confront it, that's like the first step to getting better. Yeah, makeup was definitely a coping mechanism for myself. Sometimes I felt overburdened paying off my OSAP, my student loans, and I felt like makeup was something that I could treat myself to. And I guess that's just not quite the relationship I want to continue. I want things to be different, and so I started to address these issues. All right, number 12, do you really want it? Do you really need it? A lot of people started to kind of examine the realm of what was wants and what were needs, and people started to kind of become more strict and more clear-cut about what mattered to them. Some people decided lipsticks was something that they were not going to cut on, but they might cut from foundations, and vice versa. And it's different for everybody, as I saw on the forum, but it kind of gave me the idea to assess these things for myself as well and think to myself, what do I really want, but what do I really need? And I mean, obviously you don't need makeup, it's a luxury, it's not a necessity, but since we're addressing makeup as a whole, I mean, that's the whole point of makeup rehabilitation. We kind of address what are the things that we want, like maybe we want a 7th palette, but maybe we just need more powder because we ran out. So it's quite good to address which is a want and which is a need. All right, number 13, quit the guilt and learn the lesson. I saw that a lot of people, and myself included, had struggled with different types of guilt. Guilt over decluttered items, guilt over items bought, guilt over items gifted, guilt over money spent. Oh, so I'll use myself as a personal example. I had a lot of guilt over a YSL cushion that I decluttered back in 2016. So it's been 4 years of just carrying this guilt over a decluttered product. And I ended up repurchasing it after 4 years. I just wanted to stop feeling guilty. And I think that the lesson to be learned here is guilt is a very powerful tool because it's essentially teaching you a lesson. And the lesson that I learned was I need to be very careful about what I declutter. I don't want to be wishy-washy and not cherishing my things and just chucking them and not even thinking, I suppose. And that's something that a lot of people encouraged each other. There were lots of comments on posts about guilt saying, you know what, forgive yourself, learn the lesson, don't repeat the same mistake. And I think that that's the most important thing to take from when you feel guilty. If it's already happened, forgive yourself, but learn what went wrong so that you don't have to repeat the same mistake again. Number 14, quit decluttering. It's an excuse to buy more. This one really helped me a lot. That's one of the mistakes that I made in the beginning of my, minimizing of my makeup collection. I went ham on the decluttering. I decluttered brand new makeup. I just threw it in the trash. Like, I am so embarrassed to admit that, but it's a mistake that I made that I really hope that won't happen to others. So I saw that a lot of people recommended that don't declutter because it just becomes an excuse to be able to go out and buy more, and it just creates like a cycle and you're not really addressing the issue. So I think it's more important to and I think a lot of people mention this in the community too, that it's actually more important to address the issues, stop buying so much, and to not waste products and to actually finish and using them. So I think that a lot of people reserve decluttering for expired products they really, really don't like, or it's just really not working for them. More for the products, it's like it's just not happening, rather than an excuse to just rid oneself of perfectly good product just as an excuse to go out and buy more. Number 15, learn about your spending habits. It's not really quite about the makeup, but more about one's thought processes. I saw that a lot of people talked about that they decided to let go of buying drugstore brands to buy more luxury products. Some people decided that luxury brands, beyond you seeing the packaging, nobody knows that you're wearing Chanel on your face. So a lot of people started to examine their relationship with their makeup via their spending habits and find a guideline to help curb your makeup addiction. All right, number 16, how long does it take to finish? Project Pan is really good for this one. I see that a lot of people post that it took them, especially if you watch empty videos, they'll be like, in a year they only finished 2 blushes, 1 lipstick. So, and they also record like 94 uses. They show how long it takes to use up products, and I think that is really helpful for seeing, yeah, some of this stuff does take a long time to use, and so maybe you don't need to be buying as many or stocking up because the things that you own is going to take a bit of time to finish. Number 17, it's okay to take a break. I posted this personally, and I said that after doing like Project Pan for a period of time, I started to wonder that I want to leave, but I'm scared to leave because I had left back in 2017 and I felt very embarrassed and wishy-washy to return again. I didn't want to be that kind of person who comes and goes, but a lot of you guys in the community posted wonderful things and said that makeup, you can take a pause, you can not wear it for a period of time, and it's perfectly okay to come back. A lot of you talked about how there's this big segregation between being a minimalist or a super consumer and there's nothing in the middle. That really helped me a lot to realize that I can live in the middle ground. I can have some makeup, but I don't have to have too much makeup. And if I want to leave, that doesn't mean that I don't love makeup. It just means that I'm taking a break. And if I take a break, I can come back. All right, number 18, try a low buy, a replace only, or a no buy. A lot of you guys have different variations of it, and try out the different ones and see what fits you. I did an unintentional low buy in 2020 because, you know, with the circumstances, I just was worried about money, so I just couldn't justify buying a lot, and so I had a low buy. I think I replaced a mascara and a foundation, and like that's pretty much it. But beyond that, yeah, I bought very little this year compared to how often I usually buy. I buy twice a year, once in Chinese New Year and another in the summer. I felt like I was pretty okay, which has actually prepped me and is making me like emotionally ready to maybe try a no buy in 2021. Number 19, you are beautiful regardless. A lot of people have been commenting that they've been really enjoying doing a bare face and not so crazy about wearing as much makeup. And some people have been saying that they don't care where they are in their journey, they will always love a full face. And I think that that's great, because I think it's really important to figure out how you feel beautiful, and how you feel beautiful is different for everybody else. I really like how the community supports people wanting to be bare face or minimal makeup, and at the same time supporting people who want to do a full face, and that someone's beauty is not taking away from somebody else's beauty. At least for myself, like I could try to figure out what worked for me, and one wasn't better than the other, and I could still feel beautiful regardless. All right, and number 20, in the end, it's your decision. I like that the community is pretty like open-minded. A lot of them encourage that you can figure out what works for you, that just because something worked for somebody else doesn't necessarily mean you need to take that advice and set it in stone, and you can't do things differently from how other people are doing it. You can try doing it one way and try another way, and if that way didn't work, you're perfectly fine to try it in another way, because at the end of the day, the decision is yours on how you want to use your makeup. I know that a lot of people wrote things like, oh, they depan this or they Frankenstein their makeup like that, because they realize that at the end of the day, it's their decision on how they want to use their makeup. It's not anybody else's business what you want to do with your makeup. So don't be afraid to experiment, clutter, to rebuy, to do this, to do that, because it's just your makeup, your own makeup journey, and go for it. Anyway, we have reached the end of the video. Leave in the comments down below what are some tips that have really worked for you guys in your makeup rehabilitation. I would love to read it, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye!